Okay, let's get started. Welcome everyone to the Network and Cloud Security SASE Pro course. So as you have seen, this course has 6 sessions. The first 2 sessions will be focused on the modern workplace security, and then some other advanced topics we are going to cover. And with me, we have our experts on the call as well. So as we are going through that, if you have any question during this course, during these 30 minutes, you can post that in Q&A. So our experts will reply to any questions you may have. So let's get started with the bigger picture that you have seen from the admin course. So this is the overall platform. And what we really did in the admin course, we focused on the secure internet access and secure private access. These are the two services where you put an agent on the endpoints and you are able to secure those endpoints. At the higher level, left side is hybrid work, like you have remote users, you have these locations, offices, branches, and on the right side is hybrid infrastructure. Like you may have a data center, users accessing websites, SaaS applications, and the public cloud. So SaaS is really securely connecting hybrid work with the hybrid infrastructure. So the earlier admin course more focused on the remote users, and they were both the securing their internet access, like the comprehensive web security, SaaS security, all the web filters, DNS security, mobile device security. We also had a session on the mobile device security where we put an agent on the endpoints. And we also covered secure private access, where we deployed a gateway, like, for example, over here in the data center, we deployed a gateway, then this purple path, like you could access resources, you can RDP in there, or any applications you can access, like through these tunnels, through the mesh, and so on. So that was the focus of the admin course. And this is more about now modern workplace security, like what it is. Like this is the edge firewall, SD-WAN, lot of things. Like so, this is again there will be a gateway, but this will be a different flavor of gateway. Like this will be multi-interface gateway. It will do everything that single interface gateway would do, like secure private access. But on top of that, it will replace the firewall, not only at offices, but as well as in the data center, public cloud, anywhere there's a firewall, physical or virtual, Cyber Gateway can replace that. That's what we call modern workplace security. And it also will provide site-to-site connectivity. If I deploy a Cyber Gateway here and one over here, then these locations can communicate to each other. And if I deploy Cyber Gateways like this, I can basically access the private public cloud resources, data center, all through the cyber mesh. So this is what the modern workplace security is. There will be a lot around the cyber gateways. So cyber gateway is the enabler, is the engine that will be powering this modern workplace security, firewall replacement, SD-WAN, and more. So let's look at another view of the same thing. Is like admin course was more about SASE essentials. Like we covered the DNS web security, your zero trust, secure private access, VPN replacement, mobile security. We had all the threat preventions, very detailed policy implementations, and all the MSP integrations. Like there are sessions on each of these topics as part of the admin course. But now we are at the SASE Pro, and Gateway goes with both. Like, I mean, Gateway is needed with the SASE Essentials when you are doing SPA, like Secure Private Access, because on the other side where the applications are, you need a gateway. But with the SASE Pro, you need a gateway to replace the firewall, SD-WAN, and more. And there will be other topics that we will be covering as part of this course. So let's look at now the first session. So we have 2 sessions on modern workplace security. So this is part 1. So again, like we are going to cover some topics today, and that includes we are going to understand the cyber gateway architecture, and we are going to create and deploy a multi-interface gateway, and then we are going to configure next-generation firewall, DHCP server, DNS web security, Geo-Fencing, and port forwarding. It's a lot of things, as you can see in the next 20-25 minutes. One thing we do right now is that we can launch the deployment of the gateway, because it takes some time, maybe 15-20 minutes. So hopefully by the end of this session, that gateway will be ready. So I'm going to pass this to Umanath. Umanath, so you can create a gateway and start the deployment, and then we will come back to this main presentation to cover the remaining topics. So you can go ahead whenever you are ready.
Yeah. I'm sharing my screen. This is the kind of a test or the demo workspace where the multiple kind of cyber gateways are deployed. We'll come back to how the SD-WAN can be created between the site-to-site connectivity in later sessions. Now, as a first thing, I'm going to create a gateway. As you can see on the side, admin console, you go to sites, there are cyber gateway section. Then you basically add a gateway. Here you have option to multi-interface, single interface, and JTR in a firewall, right? Multi-interface you can. If you want, you can change the CGW name, kind of suiting your basically requirements, and kind of you can wait. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Select the name out there. It's right now gives me some different. And if you want, you can deploy as HA mode. We'll come back to that. Here I will cover a minimal deployment of the cyber gateway. So default, you can keep NAT on the LAN network. Yes, this needs for some kind of secured private access requirements. It will basically kind of when remote users access it, and it will show the same IP as the LAN network. So you can keep all the settings default here, kind of probably the way they are. And you can then basically what you can kind of need to do first step was basically identify your LAN network. Here I have something like a 56.0/24. I have given a network. And as soon as you do that, you will basically get a 251 as a gateway. You can take that. Next hop gateway is the one next switch or kind of any other hub you have it to route the traffic. That is applicable when you have a different subnet. If you have it, you can configure that. Otherwise, you can leave it no. If you want DHCP, enable it. Starting IP is .2 and end IP is 250. Basically, you can change it if you want. You can do 240, right? And once you have this is the minimal configuration you need it. Once you have this, just go ahead and kind of save it. Gives few minutes. As you can see that now the gateway is basically kind of ready out there. Yeah. Copy the command from here. I have basically kept a VM ready for this deployment. You can SSH to the VM or the basically the Hansen boxes, NanoPi, whatever you have it ready out there. First step, I think you have to do a sudo -s because it needs admin privileges. And whatever the command that's been copied, as I've kind of now shown to you, that you click on this one, basically copy the command, and come to this, and basically kind of run the command. So that's all you need to do, the minimal setting of entering the LAN and come back and basically start with it. And you have one step here, kind of to select LAN-WAN interfaces. Yes. It will do some kind of when you deploy this command, it will basically kind of checks, some kind of prerequisites checks. Basically, if some kind of containers are already running or the environment is already there, internet access is there. If already kind of you are upgrading the cyber gateway, it will make sure that it shuts down, kind of does the cleanup. All that kind of cleanup procedures is going to do in first 1 or 2 minutes, and then it will start with the deployment. You have to select LAN interface. I think in my case, it's basically ENP0S8 is LAN interface, and WAN interface is 1. And once I do that, yeah, that's it. And it displays bunch of details mainly for you to know that what kind of ranges it is configuring, etc. But as you can see that it basically started the deployment. I think I go back to Farooq.
Yeah, thank you, Manath. We went a little bit out of order. I think some of the things might not be clear, but now let's dive into those things. So let's start with this. So I think you know SASE, what SASE is from our admin course. But now one big thing is this edge firewall replacement. So SASE is about network and cloud security, but what Axiom's unique way is we also replace the edge firewall, like, and this platform is supposed to deliver more functions. SASE is about protection, but then the XDR is about response and remediation. Over time, this network and cloud security platform will include more of the capabilities, right? So, but and this is a platform approach, like in the big enterprise market, for example, Palo Alto has a complete platform. In the SMB and mid market for the MSPs, yeah, we believe Axiom has the most extensive capabilities in a single platform. So this course is about like the Axiom SASE, but I think you will learn the advanced things. Even later, you end up deploying another SASE solution. I think that's going to be much easier because you are going to learn some more advanced things over here. The edge firewall replacement with the cyber gateway is one key capability. And why, like as MSP, you should look into that because the economics are staggering. Firewalls are expensive. They are difficult to manage, complex, a lot of operational headache. Cyber gateway, as you will see, just make it very, very simple and give a cost-effective solution because it's all now a cloud-native software basically replacing your firewall. Like, so that's why this is so intriguing. And the typical use case, I know as MSPs, you have customers with 3 employees and maybe 500 employees. But to really where this modern workplace security, which is part of the SASE Pro, makes a lot of sense is when a customer has, for example, more than one location, and they want to replace firewalls at those locations, they want to secure locations, they want locations to talk to each other. So we have seen many examples where, for example, a user is at a location, they want to, the ERP application is running at the headquarters, or there's a voice over IP server running in at a different location, and the other branches need to connect. So when it comes to connecting branches like SD-WAN, that's where this makes a lot of sense, and replacing the expensive firewalls. At the same time, you get all the SASE, like securing the remote users, like on the right side. So this type of solution makes a lot more sense for the SMB or the mid-market customers with this typical use case. So this is giving you an idea where this will be applied as an MSP, where you will see this modern workplace deployments. And legacy will look like on the left side. If there is SD-WAN, there may be a separate SD-WAN box. There will be a firewall. There will be a layer 3 router or switch. And what in the modern world, Cyber Gateway can replace all these 3 things. Cyber Gateway has a firewall. It has SD-WAN. And it is also doing layer 3 switching or routing, like it can switch between VLANs and so on. But there can be a transition phase where firewall is still there, maybe firewall license expiring in 6 months, you still want to keep the firewall. Cyber Gateway comes in, and this license expires. It becomes a dumb layer 2 switch. Firewall becomes Cyber Gateway takes over, or you can completely remove the firewall. So this is how the modern workplace security is going to look like. And how Cyber Gateway can replace all those things. So basically, now you are going to see the architecture, how this is possible, right? So first, let's look at the Cyber Gateway stack, right? So we are going to look at the 2 traffic flows. One is the traffic flow to the internet. So that means now you have these users at a location, right? And these users do not have any agents on their endpoints. And now you have a LAN. You can have a multiple LANs. You can have a network segmentation, VLANs, DHCP server, full firewall, your web and DNS security, and your intrusion detection, SD-WAN. All this is running as a software, right? And if you are going to Microsoft 365, you're sitting at that site where Cyber Gateway is deployed, you will just egress on the green path, okay? That means you are not going to go to the cyber mesh because all the full stack of security is running locally, even though it is managed by the cyber mesh cloud. Okay. On the left side, if you are going to another site, for example, as we discussed, there's a headquarters site or a data center or a public cloud you need to access. then there will be a tunnel, and then you are going to go through the mesh. And SD-WAN, if you have more than ISP, you will be able to use the SD-WAN capabilities as well, the failover and all those things. Some of those things we are going to cover in the next sessions. So this is how the stack is going to look like. Okay. Now let's look at its architecture, because you saw, when Umanath was deploying this gateway, he had a VM. So this thing can be deployed on a virtual machine, or it can be deployed on any small hardware box. It can be just one CPU, 1 GB RAM. But for the multi-interface gateway, we recommend 4 GB. So let's say 4 GB RAM and one CPU. You can purchase $100 box, either ARM-based like NanoPi or any other general purpose box. So very low cost general purpose box, you can deploy this cyber gateway. What you need there, as you see, Umanath was running those commands, there was this Ubuntu operating system. So you take any VM, or if you're creating a VM, create an Ubuntu VM, or if it's a hardware, so we have standard instructions how you put in this Ubuntu image on there. And then XCM has a number of modules that will run on the host, on the Ubuntu host. This is about hardening of the cyber gateway, like it's securing the cyber gateway itself, locking it down, because now cyber gateway is going to take over basically, it's going to be central hub of all the security controls at that location where you deploy it. First and foremost, it needs to be secure. So we make sure cyber gateway itself is secure. And then some of the things will be running in the Ubuntu host. You can see more like a lower level networking, like when you are doing VLANs and SD-WAN, like the failovers, because these interfaces will be different. If you have two WANs towards two ISPs, there needs to be host needs to be aware of that, and a number of other things, as you can see. So they will run in the host on the Ubuntu. Then we create a Docker layer. So you will not see most of that, but you will always see this Ubuntu, because at least the first time when you deploy Cyber Gateway, you create this Ubuntu, deploy it either on hardware or a virtual machine. You need to take that command from the central admin console and run it in that. That's the only thing, as you've seen when Umanath did, that's the only thing you need to do. After that, you can manage everything from the central admin console, as we are going to see. But just for your information, how this whole thing is running, so we create a Docker layer. It's a cloud native software. Then for example, when you create a tunnel to the other sites, we use a modern WireGuard protocol. So there's a module that creates that tunnel to the other sites, like for SD-WAN and also for remote access, like when someone is doing zero trust remote access to this site, they have agent on the endpoint, they come through the mesh, as we are seeing, so they put an agent on the endpoint, they come through the mesh. For example, they are accessing this location or this data center, so they come through that WireGuard tunnel. So that's the role of that tunnel that you see over here. Similarly, if you activate intrusion detection prevention, there'll be a container that will spun up. So this whole architecture is highly scalable. If you are not running some of the modules, they will not be even brought up. They will not be taking any resources. So this is basically a really cloud native software. Now you are running on general purpose hardware. So it's very, very efficient encryption, WireGuard, and everything that's being done over here. So one of the ways I think you are learning about this thing is really a game changer. It replaces firewalls. Right now, there is in the world, there is no this type of general purpose solution like the cloud native software that can replace the on-prem firewalls. So this is a very unique that XCM has taken our software that was running in our mesh. So basically, what we did is, as you have seen, our mesh has these cyber nodes, closer to you, wherever you are. If you are in the UK, there will be a node in London and so on. It has full cyber security stack. When remote users come in, you go through that stack. Basically, we have taken that stack and made it and adapted it so that it can be deployed on any small box. Now you have the cloud grade security, full stack, that will be running on-prem. So this is the architecture that enables that. Similarly, a lot of the other, your DNS server running and your geo controls running as a container. So that's why you are able to run it in a very low cost small box, because these things are all modular and they are only brought up as needed. Like even so, when I said 4 GB RAM, even that is not that much. If you activate everything, 4 GB is still enough. Like so, that's why we recommend that. So that's more than enough activating everything. And you will get gigabit per second speeds even with the one CPU. I mean, generally, any box these days is like a dual core and quad core. Even CPU, you have more than what you would generally need. So this is a little bit, I think, under the hood we wanted to show you, so that this is a learning for you, like how this is done under the hood, the architecture that enables this cyber gateway. Now, I think we are going to get into the console. Before I get then, there's a little bit refresher on the policies, right? So there was a complete session in the admin course. You may go back and watch it to just refresh that thing. We are going to talk about a lot of these local policies here. Like they are the site-specific policies, and they are applied at the cyber gateway. Like so, these local policies, and you as a MSP can define policies at your MSP partner level. And for a client, you can specify policies. As you are coming down, the things down here take precedence, right? So your client B may have 3 sites, but all 3 sites may need a different policy. So you can go to Cyber Gateway X, put that policy Y and Z. So there will be a lot of around local policies, so that you can just keep this in your mind, the bigger picture, how these precedence is going to take effect. So let's go to the console over here. Yeah, let's see. What was the name, Umana, that we deployed? I think it was 5.1 or something.
5140.
Okay, I may need to refresh it. So we can.
5140.
Okay, this is the one. Okay, it's already connected. So I gave you more time. I was thinking it may take longer. So you see like how easy it is. I think when Umanath created this and deployed this, it's already up, right? And now it has registered with the central admin console. Now I can go over here. I can activate more things. Like I want VLANs. I can create as many VLANs, but that's not, I think, topic for today. We are going to more go into the local policies, but you get an idea. Like so, in like 15 minutes, this thing is up and running. Today, I'm going to go to local policies. Like you have seen like how these policies apply. So I can select same site. I may have 100 sites. And these, I deploy the cyber gateway. They replaces firewalls at 100 locations. Now I can manage everything from this central admin console, and I can go and put in policies over here. So this is the gateway. I need to select the site where I'm going to put in these policies, and you can see these tabs. Then I can go. I already selected this site. Now I can start specifying the policies. So let's start with the web categories. Like as I give it a create, you can see some things are already allowed or blocked over here, because there's a client, this PA test is a client. It has already at that level certain policies, and they are these policies are borrowed from there. Like default is always what is that central policy. But I can go over here, I can override. Like for example, gambling is allowed for this client, but at a particular site, I want to block it. Like this is the site that we created, this Cyber Gateway 5140. I can go block it. Like I will update, and yeah, here you go. Now I have a site-specific policy. Same with geo controls, like this location. So geo controls work both ways, like the incoming geo controls and outgoing. For a location, when you deploy this cyber gateway, that site is locked down from the external world. You cannot get into that site unless you go through the mesh and come inside the tunnel, right? But the outgoing, if the users like a server, for example, at that location, or a laptop at that location is compromised, is calling back to a command and control center, then I want to block certain countries. Like my default is allow, I go over here, I want to block, I'm just taking an example. So now outgoing traffic to this country will be blocked from that site. Right? So this way I can again update and create that. Similarly, you get the idea how easy it is, right, to create these all the threat intel feeds. There are already some enabled, but if I want to do more, I can go enable or disable these sites. Maybe this crypto I want to enable as well. Like just here I go. Right. Similarly, firewall rules. I think you all should have access to the admin console with your MSP. If you don't, you can create one. So you can see how easy it is, and you can kind of learn at your own with these things as well. Firewall, I can create any firewall rule, allow, block, which IPs or subnets, protocol, I can select TCP or maybe allow or block. I think maybe I keep it known protocols. Like I only from one side to the other, I only want to allow RDP, like I can control those type of things. Like it doesn't mean that you deploy these cyber gateways, everything can communicate with everything else. Like port forwarding, as I said, cyber gateway locks down that site. Like, but you may have a requirement to access something like a port forwarding. You're familiar with that. We can also do the port forwarding. So I just put in which WAN interface. I think on my WAN 1, if there are two wide area networks ISP, I can also decide which one I want to use for port forwarding. Then I just pick the WAN port, say it's 443, and the internal IP and internal port. So very simple. I just activate that. And another important thing is port forwarding is always risky because now anyone can, now that site was locked down. Now I'm port forwarding, I'm opening that port, right? Now there's a risk, right? There's a security risk with that. But what we do is also allowed subnet. You can put a subnet and IP, like the public IP. For example, you have two sites. I'm port forwarding on this site A, but site B needs to have access through the port forwarding. I just give the IP of the site B. Then the rest of the world cannot access that port forwarding. So you can, because you want to lock down that site, but port forwarding is creating some risk, but then you can again lock that down to specific sources from where the traffic can come in. And similarly, I think the web filter is also part of the web policies. You have seen we can block web categories. We have these old malicious, the threat intel feeds and all that. You can create all those things, but you can also create a policy like for this site, maybe a particular domain you want to block. So again, the idea with the zero trust platform is you can be very, very granular, like this, the network and cloud security with the zero trust platform. So it's maybe just blocking whole gambling is too much, right? You want to sometimes some of the sports sites are also categorized as gambling based on like how they what they do. But you can come here and override that. If gambling is blocked for me, but I want to allow one side, I can go create a law rule over here. Even the web filter, I can further narrow it down in terms of the granular controls. Okay, I think with this one, we have covered most of the things we planned for today. So cyber gateways were over here. This gateway is connected, and I can also see the global cyber mesh where all the gateways